couple of quick points before we get to the main business of the day. Ecology is driving the economy. It used to be that clean tech and profitability was an oxymoron, but not anymore. Super profits can be made in this sector, no question. Very quickly, something I forgot to mention. So tonight is actually the crescendo of a 6-month program in which we've been working with these guys, and it continues after tonight. But just for context, so about 6 months ago, 7-8 months ago, we ran a competition to try and identify the 26 most investable clean tech ventures we can find. Not cool technology, investable. And that's what you have here in the room. And we've been working with them in our investment community for the last 6 months to raise their profile, gain investor interest. For the actual investors in the room and online, the capital allocators, you're only going to hear from each venture tonight for 2 minutes. You've got to get in the deal room to see their full profile, their pitch deck, their business plan. So if you're an investor in this event and you're not registered for our deal room, get to our website and get in there ASAP, please. And then thirdly, before we dive in, so this is going to be the first of 4 thematic sections. The agenda is broken into 4 thematic sections. Each section has between 5 and 7 mini pitches by a subset of the cohort, and then a short panel discussion to discuss that theme. The first of the thematic sessions is sustainable transportation. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to hear from these 5 ventures, and then we're going to have a quick panel discussion about that sector. So without further ado, Morten Reining from CityQ is going to kick us off. Thank you, Morten.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here, and great to be one of the latest solutions submitted to Solar Impulse. Grateful for that. Cars are being restricted in cities, and we are supposed all to change from driving to cycling. But cycling can be challenging, and especially in bad weather or when delivering goods or delivering children. My name is Morten Reining. I'm the founder of CityQ, and we aim to make this shift from driving to cycling more attractive. We're basically trying to downsize a car into a high-tech bike. A bike with weather protection, with safety, with the capacity to bring either passengers or cargo. Almost like a car, but with 90% less in energy and CO2 emission. And it's as small as a bike, it's regulated as a bike, so you can ride it and park it anywhere you like for free. And family cargo bikes are becoming very popular in Europe. It grows with 40% last year. It's expected to grow up to 10 billion euro by 2030, of which CityQ aim at taking 1 billion euro. Even before launch, we got 2,000 customers subscribing to buying or interest to buy, both B2B and B2C, and we will be offering CityQ both for sales, for rental and for lease, and as a platform with multiple models, made very multiple. And like cars, future bikes will soon become very high-tech. CityQ will be one of the first bikes that removes chain and gears and replace it with software, enabling you to download new functionality and do remotely repair, like a Tesla or your smartphone. We will also soon be making potentially the first bike that can go purely on solar panel. We're looking for 5 million euro to start delivering to pre-ordering customers, and hope that you will look at it outside and meet the rest of the team. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon. I'm Ewan Christie, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer of 4EV. We're a Scottish-based electric vehicle charging operator. Don't we just live in unprecedented times? Floods, fires, famine, and the potential destruction of our environment. It's time to wise up. We all need to make a difference. We can help deliver change, to turn back the tide, to have some fun, and add some shareholder value along the way. Here's where I think we can make a difference and how you can help. Decarbonising transport isn't easy. The huge increase in the demand for electric vehicles is driven by politics, the pandemic, and product. It's a great time and place to buy an EV using someone else's money, but the answer to one single question is holding many back. Where am I going to charge it? 4EV will deploy 1,700 charge points on 600 sites across Scotland over the next 5 years. That's about 36% of the projected market. Our chargers are all in public places, like this one on Springfield Quay in Glasgow. It's all about growth, rapid growth, like these mushrooms. Our rapid growth is well worth investing in. We recently raised £2 million from the nice people at the Scottish National Investment Bank to help us moving on the rollout. Now we're looking to attract some non-dilutive funding over the next few months to increase the runway and deliver our first 50 sites next year. We'll also be fundraising again from next August to close out a further equity round very early in 2023. We'd be delighted to talk to those who provide grants or loans to early stage businesses and also equity investors about our next funding round. Many thanks for your time today. Thanks to Greenbackers for organising such a great event, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the speakers.
We live in a beautiful world, but our world has some problems. Green hydrogen is becoming the hottest market on Earth, the biggest enabler in the clean energy transition. Forecast to be a $12 trillion market by 2050, the hydrogen economy has already started as gigafactories come online and hydrogen hubs and projects roll out all over the world. The problem? The cost of hydrogen is too high. But Hydrogen Systems Australia has a game-changing solution. HSA has a brand new technology we call Project Shield. This groundbreaking, provisionally patented and disruptive dual-frequency plasma electrolyser technology creates cheaper green hydrogen, and the numbers stack up. HSA offers a compelling case for investment. Cost. Through Project Shield, our systems will be 20% of the price of current electrolysers. That's 80% cheaper and producing a kilogram of hydrogen for the much coveted $2 mark before 2030. We believe we'll achieve this by 2025. Efficiency. The efficiency of creating hydrogen using plasma is up to 90%, compared with 57% for current PEM electrolysers. Our team. Top-line talent driven by passion and with purpose. Culture is in our DNA. HSA is looking for first-round validation funding of $10 million Australian dollars for the build and field testing of Project Shield. We have clear profit streams in place with an abundance of licensing opportunity. We're here at the Greenbackers SuperPitch looking for the right investors. Those who fit with our values, align with our passion and purpose, and who also provide value beyond the dollar. This investment represents ethical profitability as we drive forward in cleaning up the world. We are Hydrogen Systems Australia and we are part of the solution. Join us in the hottest market on Earth.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neil Riddle. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Power, and we make public electric vehicle charging simple. And I have 2 minutes to tell you what we do. So outside you can find a giant smartphone and a pink sign if you want to speak to me afterwards. So we're focusing on making public electric vehicle charging easy. We're managing issues with subscriptions, the experience and receipts. We're effectively building an electric fuel card for a growing market of electric vehicle charging. We believe that market will be $3.5 billion by 2025, and that will only be 6% of our entire car park of vehicles in Europe that are electrified. We've aggregated a number of networks across the growing market in the UK. There's 75 networks in the UK, you heard of one of them earlier. There's hundreds across Europe. How do we make this easier for drivers to find, charge and pay? We believe there's significant growth potential in this market from the rollout of electric vehicles. more public charging as people move away from just those who can charge at home to those who are required to charge in public. And we're expanding our geography across Europe. We've achieved traction on both sides of the marketplace with a number of charge point operators who are both UK and European focused and fleets signing up. We're seeking £500,000 and we've arranged our first investors to bring that round together to expand our technical team, build on our technical capabilities, and ultimately to deliver some of the functionality we believe is required in this market, including plug and charge, which is the simplification of that experience that Tesla drivers benefit from. So you might be surprised to hear me say that we don't believe the future of public charging is in apps and cards. We believe that you will find your charge point with the car. We believe that you will drive up to that charge point and plug in and the charging will start automatically, and that you'll pay with a single bill rather than the multiple subscriptions required today. Our position in the market will give us access to proprietary insights, a pricing strategy, and together we will enable cleaner transport. Thank you for your time. I look forward to speaking to you afterwards.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Carl-Henny. I'm Managing Director and founder of Ty6 Limited. We are delivering lightweighting for a net zero aviation future. This little tube weighs about 35 grams, same as a packet of crisps, but it'll carry 5,000 kilos. An African elephant, 2 Range Rovers. Materials like this will transform CO2 reduction in aviation. One of the problems with aviation is you've got to take mass out. Landing gear is heavily loaded in a very demanding environment. It needs high-strength metals to do that. But metals are pretty standard, except for ours. We can take 40% out of current parts and up to 70% for future aircraft and future systems. That could equate to 4.5 million tonnes of CO2 reduction on the A320 fleet now. We've got a £2.5 million grant to develop landing gear technology at the moment. We're delivering technologies for both the aviation and the space sector. That space sector work means we're now working into liquid hydrogen for future aircraft with new tank technologies. That'll deliver about a 4.5 million turnover by 2024 and growth significantly beyond that as we go through 2030. We've generated 13.2 million in revenues to date, 1.5 million of management investment, and we'll have a turnover around about 3.2 million this financial year. We're asking for £1.8 million to develop our team, continue to develop our technology, to enable us to make further penetration into the customers we work with, the Airbuses, the Rolls-Royces, the Safrans of this world, the major players in aviation. Ty6 technology will transform global aviation and start their progress on delivering on their promises today. Thank you very much.
So I'm delighted to introduce and bring up our first panel. We have Dr. Poonam Malik, firstly, from Strathclyde University, Head of Investments. We have Neil Foster, who's Chair of Global Technology for international legal firm Brown Rudnick. And we have Sarah Petrie, who's Director of Innovation at Michelin Scotland Innovation Park. So, please. So we have a 15-minute panel discussion on what we've heard and the sustainable transportation sector in general. Thank you for joining us, guys. Before we get into the specific questions, I just wondered if anybody had any direct observations or questions for any of the ventures that we just heard from.
I would just like to make a comment that I thought the whole supply chain was there. So there was the material to make the plane, and then there are the EV points as well as there is the charging point card for there. So I think it looks like the whole, if the companies can collaborate, they can create the market, and it's all, future is here.
Couple of missing technologies in there as well. Batteries, obviously, you know, lithium maybe not the ideal technology, but seems to be dominating at the moment. So I was kind of hoping that there'd be a new battery technology there, but maybe next time.
Next time, yeah. And Sarah, anything?
No, I thought they were all very inspiring. Thank you very much, guys. I guess the question I would maybe like to pitch back is, in some of your cases, there's probably a requirement for some kind of behaviour change, which is which is quite difficult to encourage people to change behaviours when it impacts on them going about their daily lives. I'm just thinking, have you guys thought about that and how to encourage people to change behaviours?
We have a roving mic if anybody wants to attempt an answer or has a specific. Neil?
Neil's itching.
Mask is coming off. Spike, do we have the mic? Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah, for the observation. We were working with DFT, Department for Transport, and their innovation grants to explore a plug-and charge capability. And we were fortunate to win an award from the Chief Scientific Advisor for potential and growth opportunity, because in her words, as a human factors expert, that simplification, is so small, the ability not to have to press a button, tiny adjustment enables people to go, actually, this is a technology I can adopt. So yeah, the human element, the human factors element is a huge part of how we help people make it really simple.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Anyone else? Behavior change? Morton?
Yeah, I guess that a bike that looks like a car creates a need for a different kind of view. But what we're actually seeing is that consumers are quite eager to get it. As I said, we got 2,000 adding to our website asking to buy it. It's surprisingly how much they're early adopters. And now we're also seeing B2B getting quite interest. You would probably have to look to Germany to see where this is evolving quickly. So you have the gorillas coming up with a lot of drivers. Now they're looking for better comfort. You have all the B2B actually looking for when can it get cargo bikes with capacity. So the human behavior is coming as part of this kind of hyper development changing. And I think the fact that we had COVID has created this kind of multi-industry disruptiveness that is creating a lot of opportunity for startups and innovation in this clean tech.
One point that I was thinking about, besides the behavioral change which is required from all angles, is there a regulatory aspect that's required? For example, when I was young, I used to think about that, Star Wars was very good, you could just fly things in there, and I think that vision has come with your bike, four-wheeled bike on the road, but the question will be, how is the e-bike regulation changing in line with the traffic and congestion on the road, and how will they compete with the speed limits and on the same?
That's a good question. Part of all, it's according to the existing regulations on bikes. Secondly, cities and EU is trying to get more cargo bikes into it, so all the incentives. And thirdly, they're looking into regulations to make cargo bikes more available. So multi-track bikes is coming in. I'm part of a standardization in Europe for how to handle the risk on cargo bikes. So we're putting in all these efforts, and EU is complying to it. Even ISO, the standardization globally, is looking into it. So they all want it because they want to have this shift from car traffic to cycling. So in that part, they're looking for this. It's not about cargo bikes being in the way for traffic. It's the traffic's being away for the cargo bikes.
Okay, thank you, Morton. And the actual e-cargo bike is out in the lobby in case anybody missed it, if you want to see the physical hardware. All right, so let's talk about some of the topics that we wanted to delve into within the sector. Transportation seems to be one of the clean tech sectors that is very much going in the right direction, I think, compared to some of the hard to abate sectors. We have a unicorn, Tesla, that everyone can point to. Actually, super unicorn, $1 trillion market cap. So it feels like the investment world has done a good job so far in the transportation sector. The handoff from government grants and incentives into private capital. I would like to explore with Neil initially, could it be the case, dare I say, that government are getting a few things right here?
It's rather unusual sitting on a panel and actually saying that government has, over a period of time, got some things right. You won't very often hear that, but the landscape has been transformed here in the UK by EIS, by Patent Box and other things. And my first deal in clean tech was Tesla Lotus joint venture. And British technology and an American company and a Canadian, or is he a South African, or is he a Californian, or now a Texan? So we've got international technologies. We've got a whole load of R&D here. And a lot of that has been has been fostered in our universities, which is an amazing ecosystem, and grants and EIS. And what we're seeing ourselves is that, I mean, I've been through the burst of certain bubbles in clean tech over those 18 years. But at the moment, actually, I'm not saying it's easy raising a Series A, but actually this country is third in the world for startups, but only 13th for scale-ups. So actually now, because governments have been doing a good job, universities have been doing a great job, but how do we then get the Series Bs and Cs? And that's a big challenge now. But I mean, today is predominantly about getting a Series A.
Yeah.
But it's kicked it down the road a little bit.
I think all these guys would love to have that problem, right? Oh, I just can't get my Series C, so we all look forward to that, right?
We can help.
Great, and I think we have representatives of an accelerator and universities here on the panel, so I wonder what you guys think of the role that your organizations are playing in that phase.
In terms of the finance or the innovation?
Innovation.
Yeah. So obviously, universities are natural innovation powerhouse. I would say they're innovation factories, literally, because the innovation that comes out is unparalleled, and naturally, their motto is knowledge made useful. The question that comes is that how do we make that innovation practical? How do we make that solving real world challenges? And sometimes that used to be the disconnect. That you create, it sits on the bench, even IP, patent box is showing, unless industry, there is a pull from there, and business. So it should be accessible, it should be a common platform. At the moment, I'm working with the government, Scottish Government's Life Sciences Group, where we are trying to look for some solutions where we can follow best practices. But if an SME has a challenge, they should know the front gate where to go.
Yes.
And rather than finding it and not having access to it. Then there is, and then universities have multiple challenges, like certain companies among here, and you're 26 for 26, there's partnering with academia because there are challenges, there's collaboration among academics themselves. So knowing how to solve that challenge, that solution comes. And academia itself is becoming more active in startups because there is R&D budget increasing, but the jobs, where are they going to come from? They're coming from startups, and as a result, all universities are moving into the venturing arena.
Yeah.
And that venturing, you need to put your skin in the game. So that's the question, and as a result, support the startups in that journey, whether they are spin-ins or whether they are spin-outs or startups, but working together, we can reach there, and that's probably is the triple helix or quadruple helix now with the behavioral change of citizens.
Yeah.
They need to be there, public sector, private sector, and academia.
Yeah, I think innovation for innovation's sake, maybe that's an element of what's behind the startup versus scale-up, because I think my partners would agree, many of the ventures that aren't here tonight, that didn't make the 26 for 26, have amazing technology, but have not proven the market demand for it. And it's an easy mistake to make when you're an innovator. But I think that's a common theme among what you guys said. Conscious of the time, I think, Sarah, your business is the embodiment of the just transition in some ways, with the Phoenix from the Flames, with the Michelin factory. Yeah. I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about the role of accelerators in this whole process.
I think I'm quite well positioned here between Poonam and Neil here. So yes, I think the conversation about the universities being the kind of knowledge powerhouses and the ideas and the thinkers and the investors coming in behind those, there's a gap in the middle where the role of accelerators and people who can support companies to get their company in a position to be investable, to introduce them to investors, to help support that kind of growth phase is really important. So to take people who are chief bottle washer and toilet cleaner and everything in between to people who are heavily tuned into the financial systems and how to make a company work. We need to try and make that marriage much more easy and share that language of conversation so that the companies that are presenting to investors can actually talk in the right language and present their businesses in an investable way. So the role of accelerators is really important in that, to support the companies in their growth journey and to make sure that they do get past the Series A and grow on and become scale-ups. And that's actually absolutely where Mitchell and Scotland Innovation Park is trying to play, is to support young companies to grow and develop and to scale.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with Michelin Innovation Park, I encourage you to check it out. It's incredible. In fact, I think you have an event on Thursday
and Friday.
Thursday.
Anybody that wants to come along, we have a large-scale event in Dundee on Thursday and Friday, and it promises to be an absolutely cracking event. Some of the companies from here are participating. So,
I'm just reflecting on what you all said, and having worked with all of these guys over the last 6 months, it's still difficult at the coalface, and I'm kind of looking to my partners here, you know, at that early stage when really these guys are promoting not the technologies that are being adopted today, but probably the technologies that mainstream industry are going to be adopting in 3 to 5 years, and getting that first purchase order. I think every single person in that group has lived that pain of getting a client. Yes, you don't need it today, but it is a gap in your technology roadmap 3 years from now. You might not know it yet, but I know that it is. And I think some of the ventures in that group have done a great job of leveraging public finance to de-risk those demonstration projects, to get that first bit of field history and that reference list. I think, any thoughts on that?
May I? Just I'd encourage those in clean tech, especially we heard that, you know, you mentioned it's not just software, it's about hardware. And actually, and we were talking earlier about the parallels between biotech, business models, and getting that first customer and getting paid. And it can't just be on a software model or a license royalty model later, because you need upfronts, you need milestones. So the life sciences world has got 30 years worth of precedence on how to do those customer contracting. And for every pound of recurring revenue on a customer contract, you're worth 30 times as much, or however much it is, could be more than that. Every pound of equity, vitally important to get there, but you're worth £1 more. So scaling that up, you know, pilots of vital, etc., but getting that first validation from the corporation that doesn't have to buy your product, but buys your product, and then getting paid. So I encourage you to look at the biotech industry over 30 years as an analog for getting paid.
Yeah, and we work with a lot of corporate VC funds, you know, big corporations who use these technologies, and often we find that their capital, their checkbook is very valuable to these businesses, but more important is the ability to create field history, create demonstrations, and you know the Wood Groups, the Ineoses of this world, and the like. They have a role to play that's not about writing checks. It's about helping de-risk through controlled field studies. We're into the last minute of this panel discussion, so I just want to remind the investors in the room, if you liked what you saw, get registered for the deal room, get in and do your diligence. If you're online, you can do it real time. If you're in the room, please don't do it real time. Please pay attention to the stage. Maybe some of the businesses that you've seen have already earned your green casino token, who knows, just to remind you, be thinking about that. Please join me in thanking our panelists for that discussion. Is it one more point? Poonam has one more quick point before we wrap.
Sorry, I can't let it go without saying that. So we are sitting in a company startup world and investors room full and 1,300, 1,600 watching us. So the point of diversity in a sustainable world, I can't let it go that less than 2% of venture capital funding and any kind of a funding throughout the chain goes to female founders. If you are a person of color, it goes down to less than 0.5%. Looking at the 26 companies, I see D here. We heard hydrogen systems, one more female. So I suppose a challenge to the 4 partners, all of you are males, maybe get 4, and it's a two-pronged poem because the startup founders, but it's on the other side of the table. If the investors are not female, they don't see role models. So a challenge for both of you. Next time we'll see more.
Touché, Poonam. Okay, thank you to the first panel. Thank you.